You're tuned in to Shake, Rattle, and Goal, the official podcast of your Springfield Thunderbirds.
Becca's there on the backhand, scoring the save, rebound in the crease, they score!
Hosted by Matt Baker and Steve Forney. A show that's everything Springfield hockey, with interviews including players, coaches, and staff.
The Springfield Indians repeat as the Calder Cup champions.
Listen to this podcast on all major streaming platforms and wherever you download podcasts.
In his first year at the helm, Kevin McDonald and Drew Bannister have the Teamers in the Calder Cup Finals.
Watch the podcast on the official Shake, Rattle, and Goal YouTube page at SRG Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker and Steve Forney. And this episode, number 28 of Season 3 of the Shake, Rattle, and Goal podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends at the TDS Center for Communication and Social Learning in Amherst. They are at tdsspeech.com. By the fine folks at MassCon United Training Center in Agawam, mcutrainingcenter.com. And by Landscaping That Fits, landscapingthatfits.com. That's Fitz, F-I-T-Z. Alongside Matt Baker, I am Steve Forney. Matt, how are you, friend?
Doing well. How about you?
Well, I am pumped that we are not sitting here doing a award show episode because we are on to the next round, baby. And I know it feels like Charlotte was a long time ago, but we do obviously want to dive into that series a little bit, what went right, what went wrong. But just to start off, Matt, I was very impressed with the resiliency that I saw from that club over the course of those 3 games. And obviously nobody liked what they saw on Monday night. Or on in game 1, I should say.
Right.
I don't even know what day it is. But to be able to sort of punch Charlotte in the mouth in game 2, and then what I thought was a big factor in it was all the pressure shifted to Charlotte and all of it. And that like that to me means something. Like that means something. Like I look at the Bruins Buffalo Sabres series. If Boston wins game 6 and forces game 7 in Buffalo, all the pressure is on Buffalo. Yeah. And that's sort of the same way I feel going into this series is if it comes down to it and you get a game 5 in Providence, you are playing with house money. And that was my takeaway from the game in Charlotte, the series in Charlotte. And I just thought there was so many little tiny nuggets, little tiny tidbits heading into the series, heading into game 3. And I thought the Thunderbirds did a great job of overcoming the obstacles. And I quite honestly, I thought Charlotte either ran out of gas or kind of folded to the pressure a little bit, even though they took it all the way to overtime. It was obviously a 1-goal game, but I felt like they didn't come out in game 3 with the sort of, we're the better team. We got the killer instinct. We're going to bury 6 on you, and you guys can limp all the way back to Springfield. I thought that they would have a little bit of that. There was none of that. So, so many interesting tidbits from that series. And I don't know. I'm really impressed with the resiliency of this group.
100%. I mean, the definition of true professional. Right. And we've talked about this before. Games, some games go really good, some games go really bad. And how do you manage the emotions, the ebbs and flows of the ups and downs across a long season, let alone a quick 3-game series? Here's sort of my breakdown, my thoughts. And look, it of course, we're thrilled, happy that the team is in to round 2 against the Providence Bruins. But there was, let's talk a little bit about some of the negative that we saw in that game 1.
Sure.
Now it got cleaned up. I thought I talked about this previewing the playoffs, and I had thought that Colin Ralph had sort of played himself out of a playoff spot. He did not play well in game 1. It was a -6. I think goaltending, it was a combination of maybe just playoff jitters. I mean, you had Zarenko and Cranley, who I don't think anybody, even in hindsight, would have balked at. Those are your 2 playoff goalies. Those are the goalies. When Cranley came up, this team was not in a playoff spot. And I think Ryan Smith talked about this in the broadcast. Like, Romanov only had 4 starts to close out that regular season once they went to a 3-goalie rotation. So nobody, I'm not going to argue that those were your 2 goalies to go with in game 1, but I think it was a combination. I don't think they played very well, but I also don't think the team in front of them played well at all either, right? So I think it was just a bad combination. And you alluded to it, the resiliency, the ability to sort of understand the amount of talent in the locker room. I think when you have confidence, you're able to say with conviction, well, that was a bad one. On to game 2. And if you're a team that we're struggling to find confidence, you're not able to say that. You're not able to act that way right upon it. So it's clear that this is a team with confidence, and they're able just to say this was a bad one. And I alluded to this, or my prediction, right, was that Thunderbirds, because they had been playing playoff hockey, I actually thought it would be flipped. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Thunderbirds came out guns blazing in the first game, and then Charlotte settled in the game 2. In a game 3, anything can happen. And so, I think you look at in game 2, you're playing for your proverbial life, right? You're playing for your playoff life, and you come through where you get a on your head effort from Romanov. You play well in front of him. You are able to forecheck. That was one thing. I mean, the Thunderbirds, we had friends over watching game 1, and I'm explaining to them, they don't watch as many games as we do. So I'm explaining, like, Springfield they're one and done. They're one and done. And what does that mean? Like, well, look, Springfield can bring the puck into the O zone, maybe make a pass or send it across the boards, but then it's back out. There's no forecheck from the forwards, or there's no bite from the defense coming in. It was just Charlotte's able to dictate anything they want in any zone and getting through the neutral zone with ease. They cleaned that stuff up, and they say the rest is history, but that's really what it was. I think it was a gutsy performance by the captain. I think Wagner was out there hitting everything, making plays. You might not have had the quote unquote usual suspects that, like, oh yeah, well, Dubé's going to get his goals or Kaskamaki's going to get his. I think it was just a team sort of effort over the course of game 2 and 3 and then you have that great play by Gauthier in overtime. I think that puck popped off the crossbar and rolled down Cooper Black's back. And give credit to him too. I mean, dude's a walrus, but he was playing well too. So,
these are all things I want to hit on. But you're exactly right. So I guess my question to you is, what did the change from game 1 to games 2 and 3 was? What percentage would you say that was on a change in like your on ice approach and strategy, and how much of it was a mindset from Steve Ott or the leadership, or, if you had to, or maybe there's a third thing, but for me, it's sort of those two. And I'm just curious, what would you say the percentages was? Adjustments physically in the game, or adjustments to your brain and your mindset and how you're approaching it?
It's a fair question. I mean, I think at this point, it's like, adjustments are there, but they shouldn't be that drastic. You played enough hockey. You've been playing hockey your whole life. The rules of the games don't change in the playoffs. I think it was just an attitude. I think, Steve Ott pushed the right buttons, because really what it came down to, in my opinion, on the ice was just the Thunderbirds' ability to control a little bit of the puck. And it wasn't just that dump in, chase, and Charlotte can move the puck around at will and get it through a goalie who maybe wasn't on their best game in game 1. I think you had Springfield, by putting pressure in your own O-zone, whether it turns into a goal or not, you're alleviating pressure off your back end, right? So I just think I think there were adjustments, but at the end of the day, it's winning your one-on-one battles and effort and mindset. And I really think, and I'm shocked at this because Springfield had played a month and a half of playoff hockey just to get to this point. Charlotte was the team ready to play playoff hockey, and Springfield wasn't. As I'm shocked that I have to say that. And maybe playing sorry, any Wolfpack fans listening to this podcast, but the last 2 games of the season, playing a bad Wolfpack team, maybe that just let you feel a little bit more relaxed. I don't know, but to me, that's what it was. Springfield just wasn't ready to play playoff hockey. They got punched in the face, and then it just turns into one of those games where you're like, well, this sucks. And, I think you pull Zarenko in the first intermission, you come out, and a minute into the second intermission, Cranley lets in a goal. And at that point, probably everybody at home was like, well, I'm going to go play PlayStation downstairs. At least that's what I did, unfortunately. But I had I did. I mean, the team was too good. I'll be honest, I didn't think, I knew game 2 wouldn't be like that again. Like, no way is this team too talented, too good of a coaching staff, too good of goaltending. No way does this team get blown out again in game 2. I thought, hey, I actually thought if you could steal one, like in my opinion, it was like, hey, drag them to overtime in game 2, anything can happen. And then again in game 3, anything can happen. It's one game. So, I still had confidence. We watched all of game 2. We watched all of game 3. And at the end of the day, I guess I'm kind of surprised at how it played out, but I'm not that surprised in the outcome. Like, I do have confidence in this team that playing at their best, and they were probably the best team against Providence all season long. So I expect another good, take this series to 4 or 5 games. Absolutely. And I expect a good series.
Yeah. I got some things in that regard I want to touch on too. One thing that also stuck out to me in the Charlotte series, and something we've talked about all season, is goaltending. And, we've talked on the show about how the playoff schedule is different. And I think that the problem that Charlotte ran into was Domingue wasn't healthy. The other kid, I'm going to butcher it, but I think it's Gerasimyuk.
Yep,
was backing him,
right. Yep,
and it was backing Cooper Black up. And so I was looking at it and I think I put the question up on our page. Are they going to go with the same goalie 3 games in 4 days with Cooper Black? And not like he is, again, there's no travel, right? None of that stuff, but it's not like he's been around. I mean, this is what, year maybe 2, maybe 3 for him. So it's not like, if it was Louis Domingue, I'd be like, well, this guy's been around and he's a pro and he knows what playoff hockey's like and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not sure how much Cooper Black was prepared for that kind of a workload. And I think that last goal was even the Hugh McGing shorty. It was like, dude, like it was a sweet shot, but it's like, dude, you got to have that. Like, you're 6'8", like you got to snatch that puck up. So I thought it was interesting from that end. On our end of things, who would have thought it'd be Georgi Romanov? Right. I mean, he hasn't played in a month and a half, and now it's a good problem to have, to where Charlotte had 1 goalie, you might have 3. And when you look at Providence, they have 1 goalie, you have 3. And yes, it's the league MVP and the goaltender of the year and all that stuff, but he's one guy over the course of 5 games. Are you going to play him all 5 games? And oh, by the way, he's been shuttling up and back and down with Boston and Buffalo because they want him to practice with the Bruins. So with Boston Bruins. So, there's so many factors into this, guys coming up and down. I mean, look, if Boston winning on Tuesday night was huge, because if they get eliminated, all of a sudden Lucas Reichel is down, and I don't know if James Higgins would have been sent down, but all of a sudden now you got 3 or 4 guys coming down to the Providence roster that have been up playing NHL playoff hockey. So the fact that Boston is in it is a factor for this team in this series. But I'm curious to see what Providence's plan is with DiPietro if this thing goes something like 4 games. If it goes 4 games, that means that you've lost 2 of them. He's lost 2 of them. So are they going to go with a backup? Are they going to try to sprinkle him in? Are they going to try to manage the workload? I mean, look, if I'm Providence and I get up 5-0 in game 1, I'm sitting DiPietro.
Yeah.
Just for minutes and just for the sake of knowing you're going to have to go back to him at some point. So, which is rare, right? That's sort of unheard of when you're pulling a goalie up five goals in any game, never mind a playoff game. But was I disappointed in Zarenko? Sure. Did I think Cranley was put in a real tough spot? Definitely. What are you going to do, though? But how smart was it to go to Romanov and say, boom, there it is, lightning in a bottle? And so I thought that call was great. And I even love going back to him the next night because I just felt like in game 2, that guy was feeling it. Like I think it was game 2, he like checked the guy behind the net. Like he went back to play the puck and just like pinned a guy up against the boards. And I'm like, dude, go get in the goal. But I'm like, you know what? If he's doing that, that means that he's like confident and he's feeling it and he's right. And so I'm like, you know what? I like to see that. He didn't get, didn't cost him a goal or anything. But when I see these goalies start to really move the puck, or they're just active, they're active against the opponents, they're active with their own teammates, that's a sign to me that they're feeling it. And Romanov was definitely feeling it in games 2 and game 3. So that's something that I definitely am going to keep my eye on here when we start to preview the Providence series, is our goaltending situation versus their goaltending situation and how we think that's all going to play out.
Yeah.
One other thing that you touched on that I just wanted to bring up briefly. It was nice to see Wagner get involved. It was nice to see Dubé really pick it up. It was nice to see Koskamaki pick it up. But wasn't it nice to see Julian Gauthier get the winner? Hugh McGing gets the shorty. Dylan Peterson, I think, pardon me, I think it was a while ago, but I think he got on the score sheet. There were just guys that you're like, okay, if our heavy hitters aren't producing, who's going to step up? And there were guys really up and down that roster. I think we got a couple goals from defensemen too. But Bushinger, I thought had a great 3-game series. So, well, I'll call it a 2-game series because nobody was good in game 1. So, but games 2 and game 3, I thought Bushinger was excellent. He was one of the best defensemen on the ice. So, even the scrum at the end, I think it must have been game 2. It was a scrum because again, you push Charlotte around and sorry, my ADD is kicking in. When we were down 6-0, 7-0, 8-1, whatever it was. Yeah. We weren't getting unsportsmanlike conducts and game misconducts. The way that Charlotte was. And that to me is a sign of a team that doesn't know how to control their emotions, isn't used to losing. Is there a benefit to losing as much as the Thunderbirds did at the beginning of the season? Maybe, because when it gets to this point and you get down, you say, well, look, first of all, I'm not going to act like a jackass. And second of all, we can always come back from this. We're not done. Whereas that's unfamiliar territory for a team like Charlotte to be down like that in that situation. And they got completely undisciplined. So, there is something to be said about that end of it too. But yeah, Bushinger, I thought was if not the best, one of the best defensemen. You had Skinner go down, and they brought in who was the replacement for him. It wasn't Leo Loof. But anyway, you had to make some moves. You had to move some bodies around, and we were texting back and forth. I know you weren't thrilled with Ralph's game. I am still kind of glad they stuck with him. Yeah. Because it's just he's a young kid, and you can't. That's kind of how you. I mean, that's what I think the Bruins did to James Hagen's, kind of ruining him a little bit. It's like, oh, you want a playoff game? Sure, here you go. And then he doesn't produce, and he hasn't played since. It's like, okay, well, the kid's 19. You got to either play him or not play him. Like, you can't just be playing this back and forth game. So, I liked what I saw there from Colin Ralph, from the coaching staff regarding Colin Ralph. There was just so many interesting little tiny nuggets from this Charlotte series, half of which I forget at this point, but that was really, really fun to watch and an impressive series.
I think their D group did kind of step up. I mean, they are a little banged up now. I like, it stinks. There's this long layover between games with the Bruins, but Hunter Skinner, Quentin Burns, they need to kind of get healthy because I do think probably if those two guys are healthy, Colin Ralph, I mean, Wyatt Newpower, I thought stepped up and had a good game 2 and 3. But I mean, you pretty much had Theo Lindstein, Bushinger, Lucas Fisher is sort of late season call up. He's kind of their guy who's now, again, with the injuries to Quentin Burns and Hunter Skinner, he's there. You had Wyatt Newpower, Callie Rosen, and Marc-Andre Gaudette. Those are your 4 guys that your 6 guys that were playing really in this series. I think you bring Quentin Burns and Hunter Skinner back. I think Wyatt Newpower and Colin Ralph kind of go to the wayside a little bit. And, Wyatt Newpower will get a spot start maybe, but I think overall, and you talked about this too, right? The reaction after game 2, and it was game 2 where all those misconducts happened at the end. And you're right. Springfield Thunderbirds were not acting that way after game 1. And I think that is confidence. That's how you lose 8-1 with swagger, is be like, yep, I'm taking this one today. And I'll see you in game 2. And I don't need to try to intimidate you for game 2. I know we're coming out punching. I know we're coming out swinging. And that's exactly just what they did. I think was there some sense of security? Was there a sense of, relaxation from the Checkers? I don't know. I mean, I like to give the Thunderbirds more credit than that. These guys, the Checkers, are professional. They were in the Calder Cup final last year. I think it was more a matter of just the Thunderbirds saying this isn't going to happen in game 2. And you had Romanov playing out of his mind. And let that be a lesson, kids that listen to this podcast, adults that have children in sports, if you're listening, like that is, as a coach that I coach all my kids in all different sports, I preach sort of that sort of mentality all the time of like, you never know when your number is going to get called. It's practice is not for going through the motions. You're going to practice how you play. And if you're going through the motions in practice, he doesn't get that game 2 start. But if he's out there busting his butt, Romanov, every day at practice, earning and gaining the coach's trust, I can only dress 2 goalies. I'm sorry, bud, but I trust that if I need you, I got you. And that's what happened. Every day at practice, Romanov is there working on his craft, getting better, putting in effort, staying focused, connecting to his teammates. And when his number is called, he rises to the occasion. It reminds me of, obviously a Disney movie, The Mighty Ducks 2, when they go to a cold goalie, Julie the Cat Gaffney, right? And I think it was the shootout there to beat Iceland. And because she had the hot glove, right? But, that's Romanov. He's always kind of been that goalie. He was, if I'm not mistaken, I think he got the first win for the Thunderbirds as well. They started 0-2, 0-3, and then the first win was Romanov's first start. So
coming off the street, he was a free agent.
Yeah, he was a free agent signing that they picked up right after the Colton Ellis claimed on waivers. So and this, you can never have too many goalies, and they have 3 very capable, very good, high quality goalies. So any continued run here in the Calder Cup playoffs is going to be off of the gloves of those 3 guys.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it was fun. It was definitely a fun. I was up in Vermont yelling at my in-laws' TV. It was awesome. Peace. I'll see you to Charlotte. Be gone. Good riddance to everyone except Greasy Keys. I love Greasy Keys. But the rest of them, that's enjoy the golf course, and we'll see you back here in October. And I can't believe we're hosting another playoff game. Like we actually I had all my stuff out, and I'm like, my long pants, my official gear, my thick socks, and I'm like, this stuff's either going away for a while or it's staying out, and it's staying out, and I'm pumped about that.
So we'll be there for game 4. Or no, 3. Game 3. I'm sorry. We'll be there for game 3. I got my tickets this afternoon or yesterday afternoon.
Excellent. I will be there as well for sure. Y'all know it. I do want to get into Providence and obviously this series coming up, but first I want to remind everybody about the fine folks at the TDS Center for Communication and Social Learning in Amherst, with its unique location right in the center of Amherst, allowing for clients and groups to enjoy the social constructs of city life. Founder Teresa Dooley-Smith is a leader within the speech and language community, continuing to find innovative ways to meet the needs of all individuals. For more information, you can visit tdsspeech.com, or you can give them a call at 835-0735. And by the folks at MassCon United Training Centers. From beginners to pro, MCU Training Centers, a one-stop shop to improve your game with top local trainers and their knowledge, skills, and training to develop programs that will make you a better player no matter your skill level. Their small player-to-coach ratio clinics allows them to focus on each individual athlete's need. They're right in Agawam on Springfield Street, right over the bridge from the Big E, just minutes off 91. Serving athletes of Western Mass and Northern Connecticut. You can give them a call at 301-6040. That's 301-6040, or visit mcutrainingcenter.com. And by our friends at Landscaping That Fits. That's FITZ, Landscaping That Fits. I have already mowed the front and the back twice. And we haven't even hit May yet, which just goes to show how good Rob is at laying down my fertilizer, doing it properly, getting the lawn ready, set, and ready to go. And also, he is doing my mosquito and tick treatment. We have not found a single tick on the dogs yet, knock on wood. And the skeeters, quite frankly, are not too bad. And I owe all that stuff to Rob. So Rob is a jack of all trades, whether you want weekly mowing, whether you still have some spring cleanup, whether you just have a pile of stuff you just, leaves, sticks, twigs, stuff you can't get rid of. Call Rob. He'll come over and get rid of it for you. Or, like I said, the fertilizer is amazing, and he does a great job with it. And the price is as reasonable as it gets. So landscapingthatfits.com. That's FITZ. Tell them that the guys from Shake, Rattle, and Goal sent you. Now, when we look at Providence here, you mentioned the sort of long layoff. We can talk about how Providence, just like Charlotte, hasn't played a real playoff game or that playoff feel since like February, since like Valentine's Day. But they also haven't even played a competitive game. And when come Friday, it'll be 12 days. That's a long layoff.
A long time.
So obviously you have somebody like DiPietro who is up practicing with Boston. And again, it's not like they're sitting at home. They are practicing as well. The Providence team is. But that is something you want to talk about getting on a team and jumping on a team early in game one. That to me, what's the key to the Thunderbirds for game one? It is win the first period, the first period, because they have struggled in the first period against Charlotte. And if you want to come out and make a statement and really put them on their heels, the team that may have a little bit of rust on them, you have to win the first period and you have to win it early. And so that to me is just something, again, there's all these little nuggets in this series to look at. That to me is a big one, is coming out hot.
That was actually mine. I was going to say, you got to get the first one. You got to get the first one. And if it's not in the first period, it doesn't mean the end. But if you're the Thunderbirds, I think in game one, you got to get the first one. What you don't want to do for a team that's had as much layoff as the Providence Bruins have, and have their Black Aces up in Boston. And like you said, DiPietro's up there practicing. For a goalie, I don't know. I don't think it's as important to have the continuity of practice. It doesn't matter who you're practicing against. You're seeing shots, you're saving shots. So I don't think it's as important for him. But I think getting up early on Providence, just again, it puts the pressure back on them. And this is a team that Providence knows that they were the best team in the AHL this year, right? They know that. They also know the team that had the most success against them is the Springfield Thunderbirds. So, I expect this. I don't expect this to be a quick, easy series. I expect it to be a hard-fought battle. But just like last year, score the first one and steal one at home. I think game one is your one to get that. Let's jump into it. My prediction is you do see Romanov in game one. I quite honestly would be shocked if it wasn't him. I think if you go Romanov in game one, depending how that game goes, I could understand a Zarenko in game two, and then back in game three, going back to Romanov. That's sort of my thought process.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how it all shakes out. Do you have like a house fly flying around the mic or something? I don't know. It was just some buzzing going on there. I just want to make sure you're all right over there.
Good,
but all good. I want to take just a quick moment here. I want to shout out Black and Gold Productions, BNG Productions. I used to, before we started this podcast, I was on a podcast there. It was a Boston Bruins podcast with my buddy Mark Allred, who's a really good dude. He runs B&G Productions. He is always hiring, which is great. He hires young writers, and he says, I want you to cover the Maine Mariners. I want you to cover the Providence Bruins. I want you to be our video editor. And so he gives people jobs and opportunities, which I can certainly appreciate. But he also, there's a lot of information from B&G, and it's free. There's a lot of information from B&G if you're looking at things from the Providence side. I did want to bring up an article that was written earlier this week, and I believe it's Jake Ferraro. I want to give him the shout out here. Yes, Jake Ferraro for B&G Productions. And just this little piece here. And of course, now it is, okay. So he says Providence won 7 of 12 meetings against Springfield this season. So 7 of 12. However, the 5 losses to Springfield were the most Providence had against any AHL team this season. Providence dominated Springfield by winning 3 of the first 4 meetings this season. In the 4th meeting, on December 27th in Springfield, Providence won 7-1. Now, we all know how the beginning of the season went, right? So take that for what it's worth, that you lost 3 or 4 playing the way that you were playing against Providence, obviously. He says, after the 7-1 win, Springfield won 4 of the final 8 meetings against Providence. In each of those meetings, Springfield's goaltending was solid as it didn't allow Providence to score more than 4 goals in any game. So I think Springfield's going to be a tough team for Providence to beat. They're highly motivated and confident after defeating Charlotte. He just thinks it's going to be a great matchup. So Jake, a nice article, way to, I think, hit it straight. I mean, a lot of these beat writers are like, our team's awesome. Yeah. And not that he's not doing that, but he is giving some kudos to Springfield, which I appreciate. So nice hire there, Mark, in Jake.
I also think, Steve, to add on to that, let's not forget, and Ryan mentioned this in the broadcast, when the Bruins score first, they're literally undefeated. Well, the one loss they have is to the Thunderbirds. So the Thunderbirds have been able to do things. It's not just, they won 4 out of the last 8, basically going 500 with them down the stretch. There is zero intimidation in the regular season. So you're coming in as confident as you can be off of this series win in Charlotte. I don't think for one second this is going to be your typical 1 versus 6 matchup. People will look at this, if you're not paying attention and if you're a fan of, whoever, and you're just 1v6 matchup, no, not a chance. No, this is not going to be your typical 1 versus 6, in my opinion. I think you're going to get solid goaltending from both teams. There's no doubt, how good DiPietro is. I'm not trying to, he's over. Nope, he is as good as advertised. And it's going to be tough, but there isn't going to be any intimidation. I think Wagner has the recipe to get into Tufty's head. And Wagner is wait, wasn't it Tufty the one he took out and you were saying that one big hit that kind of ruffled his feathers and took all the air out of him, right? Wagner knows how to play this team, and I think he's been sort of the fly in the ointment all season long. And now you have, again, with Dubé and Kaskamaki and Bordelot playing the way they're playing. Akil Thomas is heated up and he's nice and warm. You got Zach Dean. Every Hugh McGing scoring goals is huge because if you can get him on a heater, good night, So I don't know. Not for one second do I think this is going to be a typical 1 versus 6 matchup. I expect it to be hard fought. I expect it to go deep into the series. And, if you can, any team, you can put them on the ropes. You got a hot goaltender. You can ride that all the way to the cup.
I agree. I don't think the Thunderbirds have necessarily the recipe to beat Providence, but I definitely think they have the ingredients. They just got to they just got to write it on paper and put it all together. And back to Wagner, Wagner has the ability to do that to a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys on Providence that, we talked about Charlotte getting down and then getting stupid and taking undisciplined penalties and unsportsmanlike conducts and stuff like that. We've watched in real time Wagner make guys like Patra completely boil over.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was one game specifically, it must have been in 2026 towards, sort of there in the dog days of the season, where Providence just completely melted down. And it was Wagner picking on Patra taking retaliatory penalties, Joey Abate all of a sudden taking out of his game. Now Providence is just trying to hit everything that moves, and they're not playing hockey anymore. And now you're skating around them because their eyes are red, and you've completely taken them out of their game.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, they might not have the recipe, but they definitely have the ingredients. If they can put it all together and really take Providence out of their game, I think a lot can be said for that. And I think that starts, like you said, with the captain. It starts with the captain. I do expect to see some Cale Kessie in this series. Yep, I hope Skinner's back, because Skinner is another guy that Providence just hates playing against. And so those are going to be the kind of matchups. I think if you're going to win this series, Springfield, you need to get, I'm not saying dirty as in like, go out and do dumb stuff behind the whistle and try to injure guys. I'm just saying dirty. Like, you got to get down and dirty. You got to get in the mud. Yeah. You got to get in the trenches. You got to, it's not going to be pretty. It's got to be ugly, greasy, grimy battle hockey, and they're not finesse out there on twinkle toes. No, you got to get down and dirty against this team. And again, I mean that as in, effort, battle, and get in front of the net, take a hit to make a play. Like, it's going to be sort of all that stuff that's really going to, I think, be a huge difference in this game, in this series, because like I said, Providence is vulnerable to that. And quite honestly, if we look at this season, there really hasn't been much pushback from anyone else. I mean, look at the record, look at the points they put up, breaking records. They haven't broken a sweat since like Christmas. So unless it's against us. So just got to take the ingredients and put them into a recipe and slide it in the oven and see what comes out on the other side. Because, like you said, I think it all starts with Wagner and his ability to, again, just kind of get grimy, get greasy, get into their heads, get into the, chirp them, couple of shots after the whistle. It's like, even game 1 against Charlotte, I didn't even think they were winning like the post-whistle scrums. Like, it'd be a post-whistle scrum, and our guys like, and they're pushing us around. That didn't happen in games 2 or 3. And so even just those kind of little things where if there's going to be some kind of scrum, you're not going down easy. If you're getting taken off the ice, you're taking one of their guys with you. Like, and you know what? If one of their guys is going off the ice and you got to go with them, that's fine. That means that you're sticking up for yourself, as far as I'm concerned. As long as you're not doing anything dumb and we're not shorthanded or anything like that, take them, go with them. That's fine. Like, because that is, over time, that's going to wear a lot on Providence over the course of what I hope is a 5-game series. That's going to really weigh on them as the series weighs on. So I fully agree, and I think that's what the style they really need to play with in this game.
Yeah,
I keep saying game. It's a series, Steve. It's a series, for crying out loud. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but one other thing, and I know there's already a lot of chatter on social medias about bus it or not, maybe not a bus. I haven't heard a bus, but a group of people getting together to go down to Providence. We know last year in game 1, the group was sitting right behind Ryan. So you heard more Thunderbirds chants than you heard Providence Bruins chants. And another, so I know there's going to be a good contingency or group cohort of Thunderbirds fans going to Providence in game 1. Great for you all. Be loud. And if this team can give those fans something to cheer about early and almost get some nice home cooking in Providence and let the team hear you. We know they can hear you, right? They've made comments before. So give the fans something to cheer about early in game 1, just more added pressure. Like, there can't be any worse feeling as an athlete when you're home and you should have a home field advantage, and the away team does something and all you hear is cheers from the away team's crowd, fan base that are there, right there. That can't feel good. It's got to be a bit demoralizing. So, I think that can play a part in game 1. And like I said, like game 2, you're playing with house money because you got 2 coming back into Springfield. You got to win 3. So this is a best of 5 series. I think this is what the AHL wants.
Real quick on that, and I don't mean to go too far down a tangent, but did you hear David Pasternak's post game after their win against Buffalo the other night.
The overtime win? I didn't hear his no.
So they asked him, they said, what's your, you're bringing the series back to Boston. What's your, what's your message to the people of Boston? And he basically said, be patient. I promise we'll shoot the puck.
No.
And I think he was kind of joking, but like, how often do you hear, Tom Brady say, I want you guys get all lubed up, and Bart Scott, you're going to the, the AFC Championship game. He says, can't wait, right?
Yeah.
It's rare that you have a guy say, what's your message to the fan? Be patient with us, guys. Okay, we know we have to shoot. Please don't yell shoot at us. Like, we got it. I've never heard that in a post game.
Interesting.
And same applies here, because I don't think we're going to be able to talk to the fans before Tuesday, our home game on Tuesday.
Yep.
Let's go in, guys, with a positive mindset. We don't need. They know to shoot. You don't have to spend the whole power play yelling shoot, as much as we all want to yell shoot. We do not. They know they have to shoot. So I just laughed at that, and I kind of thought, boy, we could kind of use that message too. Like, be patient and stop yelling at us to shoot. They'll do it. They'll do it eventually. But oh yeah, no, you guys get a little group down there going, and I don't know about anybody else, but even just me hearing, if we lose to Hartford. And I hear it a little bit during the game, but then the 3 stars are all Hartford, and I breeze through them because that's my job.
Yep.
And I hear the cowbell, and I hear the cheering for the Hartford guy. I hate that. I hate it. I hate when I hear that. I hate in the WNBA when we play against Caitlin Clark, because 90% of the fans there are rooting against us. I'm hosting an away game. It's infuriating, and I'm not even playing. So imagine how the players feel and when that's the environment. So yeah, go down there and be loud. And when you come back here, be kind. How's that sound? Let's be kind to our boys. Let's go in with a little bit of a positivity and kindness to the Thunderdome on Tuesday. You got anything? I had something and I kind of lost it for a minute.
Well, I was just going to say, and I know you talked about it at the beginning, how much, I guess, just point blank, how much of an impact do you think the Bruins series plays on this first Providence Bruins series?
You're talking about Boston?
Yeah, like how much does the Boston series, because you're keeping those guys, you'll send DiPietro. Well, I mean, yeah, you'll send DiPietro down. Although I would expect the Blues kept Lindgren up as their third goalie until the Blues lost. Because if you remember that year that the Thunderbirds were on their Calder Cup run, it was Hofer for that whole first half of that playoff run. It was all Hofer. I would think you're fully expecting the Boston Bruins to send DiPietro down regardless of what happens in their series?
So, well, first of all, I really don't think this series is going to go any later than Friday. And I mean, Boston-Buffalo, because I don't think, again, Boston is terrible at home in the playoffs. Terrible. They have been forever. Unless it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, they can't beat them in the playoffs at home. So realistically, Friday could very well be the end of Boston's season, which means it's only game 1, which again, as we mentioned, all the more reason to steal game 1 and get up early and get it before they have guys come down. Second of all, I think the only guys eligible to come down are really Lucas Reichel, maybe one of the defensemen, and DiPietro. And I'm not even sure about Higgins. So I don't think
he must be able to come down. He must.
I think because they signed him to a 3-year entry-level contract. I think that's an NHL contract. So I don't know. But you know how funky those kind of rules are. Okay. So in regards to DiPietro in particular, if I am an NHL organization that cares about development in the minor leagues, I would send the goalie back down to A, get him more ice time and more playoff ice time, and B, to get more games under the belt of my young players that I'm trying to develop. But I've said on the show before that I don't think Boston gives 2 flying farts about its minor league product. If they did, Fabian Lysell would be getting opportunities. Georgi Merkulov, Matthew Poitras, these guys would all be getting opportunities. They wouldn't be signing Jonathan Aspero because they would be calling up Frederick Brunet. So, Brandon Bussey just never got a chance. Look what he did in Carolina. How many of these guys have we seen go to other teams straight out of Providence on NHL deals and succeed because Boston just refuses to acknowledge that they even have a minor league system? Right. So if it were me, yes, I'd send DiPietro down game 1 and I'd have him ready to go. I don't know how much Boston is invested in this year's Providence Bruins Calder Cup run. However, like I said, that point could be moot because I think that really after game 1, I don't on Friday, I don't think Boston's going to last much longer. I trust me. We should all be rooting for Boston. All you Thunderbirds fans should be rooting for Boston because the longer they're in it, I think was it Victor Arvidsson got hurt the other night. What does that mean? I mean, obviously that means they're probably going to bring in Hagens. Are they going to call up another body? I don't know. I know Providence has a defenseman that I think is in concussion protocol. Swedish guy, Lindstrom, Soderstrom, something Strum.
Victor
Soderstrom, I think it is. I'm not sure what his current status is. So there are definitely some question marks on that side of things that I think are pertinent to this series and this run that Providence is on. And I mean, we've seen it with Boston. We've seen Boston go out and break the record for the best regular season in history in points, and then boom, they're out round 1.
Yeah.
So,
I remember that, yeah.
This is a franchise on the whole that hasn't really done a lot of winning over the last. I mean, they won the cup in 2011, so it's been 15 years. They haven't done a lot of postseason winning, and is that just luck of the draw, or is there really something there? I don't know to that number, to that level. But let me ask you this: if you are, let's say DiPietro comes down for game 1, at what point? Let's say he plays fine, win a couple, lose a couple, whatever it is. At what point are you saying, all right, I got to put somebody else in to give this kid a night off? Because this isn't the nights of Patrick Roy, Chris Osgood, Mike Vernon, Felix Potvin playing every single playoff game the entire stretch. This generation is not, they don't do that at the AHL or the NHL level. And we're, like I said, comfortable because I got 3 guys I would have faith in. They got 1. So at what point do you say, I think it's time to go to Zajac just to give DiPietro a rest?
It's a fair question. I mean, I guess they don't have any back-to-backs, right? This is, I think they play on all odds. May 1st, May 3rd, May 5th.
Yeah, Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, I think.
7th, and then the 9th if necessary. The 7th and 9th are if necessary. So I don't know. I think if you are Providence, I think you do ride him. Assuming he doesn't look bad, assuming he's not, if he has a bad game and he looks tired, then you sit him. But I do think you go into this series saying, this is a team we know well. This is a team that has beaten Zajac multiple times the second half of the season. And this is a goaltender who really, as much as Zarenko has success against the Bruins, well, DiPietro has success against us.
Sure does.
I'm like, listen, kid, you're our guy. He's been, I have his kind of player profile pulled up now. This is year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for him. This is year 7 for him in the AHL. And the last 3 with the Providence Bruins, he's been a full-time goalie, playing 30 games, 40 games, 45 games this year. I think for him, the success he has had this year it can be career defining. So I think he's going to be ready to be like, if you need me in all 5, I'm here all 5. I agree. I think if you're the Thunderbirds, my prediction is Romanov in game 1, Zarenko in game 2, and then you probably come back to Romanov. I'm assuming wins or losses aside, I'm assuming everybody plays well.
Right. Yeah, as long as nobody, yeah.
Right. I'm assuming everybody plays well, whether you win 3-1 or lose 2-3, like whatever, like wins and losses aside, everybody plays well. I would assume DiPietro is in net for all 5 games or all games necessary. And I think you go Romanov game 1, Zarenko game 2, and then you're probably going back to Romanov in game 3, assuming everybody plays well. And I think Romanov has sort of earned the start until further notice. But I think you can give him a night off in game 2, just to see if Zarenko, because at this point now too, like, this is not a prediction. This is not me putting the cart before the horse, but any real, truly deep playoff run for the Thunderbirds, you're going to need a number 2 goalie. One of those 2 guys is going to have to find their confidence again. I'm hedging on Zarenko in this series because of his career success against this team. And he's always played well in Providence. So it just makes sense to me that you'll see him in game 2. But I think you regardless, it could be a 1-0 shutout in game 2. I think you go back to Romanov in game 3. He's earned it because you're not even in this spot without him. So he's earned that. That's my take.
It's fair. I agree. And the only other thing I'll add on to it too is when Z has hit troublesome times, a lot of it tends to be at home. And as I mentioned earlier, fans seem to get on Zarenko, I think, more than a lot of other goalies we've seen come through here. There's something about him that like when it's bad, it's like you can just the angst in the building is like, oh, here he goes again. It's number 1, can't stop a beach ball. And his get right game can't be in Springfield.
Yeah.
So game 1 and game 2, whatever happens, especially if you lose game 1 and game 2, you can't go to Zarenko at home in a get right game in a sold out Thunderdome. Like, no, you can't do that. So and he's, like you said, he's been good in Providence. So that's what I would do. Romanov's earned it. Zarenko needs a get right game in game 2. And then, I would sort of assess it from there, but I'd probably go Romanov in Springfield. And then from there on out, you kind of see what happens. But yes, I agree with you. They're very opposite in the fact that if I'm Providence, I ride DiPietro till the wheels fall off. Here, I like the idea of mixing and matching. And I'll even give you one more. If you don't go Romanov game 2, I would sit him completely. I would go Zarenko with Cranley backing up and let Romanov have the complete night off, so he's not even coming in case of disaster. I would go Zarenko with Cranley backing up. And in fact, I got to be honest, maybe in game 1 I would go Cranley backing up, and I'd give Z the total night off, because if he's gonna you have the luxury here where if you're gonna go Z game 2 and you already know that, you don't want to risk him coming in game 1 in relief the way Cranley did. And that's what I think. That's why I think Romanov got his start anyway. I think they were planning on going Cranley in game 2, but he had to come in relief of Z. And now you're like, all right, well, there's 2 guys. Why don't we try the third one? And then boom, it worked. Maybe it's obviously not that simple, but I would rely on Cranley to do most, if not all, of the actual backing up, and then let those 2, Zarenko and Romanov, either start or put on a suit and go up to the 3rd floor and watch from up there, or be in the locker, whatever it is, but not put them in a situation where if things go bad, now you got to go to those guys in a backup role. I'm not really thrilled about that. I know that's like, I don't want to give people a popsicle headache. That's kind of nerdy and really in the weeds of goaltending, but that's just, again, something else I'm thinking about.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
So we do have the watch party happening at MGM at TAP again.
Yep.
So fans, feel free to take care of that. I do know there has been rumors and rumblings about some of the games being on Amazon. I don't know if they're doing that again. This again, if it were me, this would be a Cozy TV. Like, where are you, Cozy TV? Like 22 News. Like now is your chance, man. Like, put these games on Cozy TV. But if you can't get to the Thunderdome or you can't get down to Providence, there are multiple ways to watch these games. So just make sure that you keep your eye on that, or ask around about what people are watching it on. Because there are certain outlets, and I don't know. This is gonna be fun. I'm excited. I can't wait.
It's a good one. All right.
I want to just say one other thing real quick.
Yep.
I talked about Mark Allred, who runs the B&G Productions. I think he's sneakily scared of Springfield, and I love Mark, but a lot of his posts were like, "Well, miraculously, Springfield beat Hartford. And so I guess now we have to play Springfield. And I'm like, boy, you don't sound like you wanted to play Springfield. Like, did you want to play Hershey? Like, so I think there's a little bit of them out there that know that we're pesky. They know we're a pain in the neck, and they just want no part of us. And that's good news for us. I know they're just fans, but that's good news for us.
Yeah, you can't deny it. This isn't like us. We're spitting facts here, folks. We're not just being a homer and trying to spin it positive because there's no positive. If you want to know who's the team that beat the Providence Bruins 14-game winning streak, that was the Springfield Thunderbirds.
Sure was.
If you want to know who the team was, I don't have this pulled up on my screen right now, but the only team, if not the second team, to beat Providence at home when Providence had a lead after the first period, that was Springfield Thunderbirds. Do you want to know who the first team to come back and beat the Providence Bruins after giving up the first 2 goals? That was the Springfield Thunderbirds. So it's like we're not just trying to be homers and spin it like there's a lot of positive for the Thunderbirds in this series. And you guys know me that have listened all the time. Like, I love sports are physical, and you got to go out there, you got to have talent, but in order to make your talent and everything reach its potential, you have to be right mentally. And I don't know how to measure the mental aspect of sport, but there's something about it, right? It's that it factor. Springfield is not mentally intimidated at all by this dominant Providence Bruins team. They were dominant all season long. There's a reason why, like I said, they're the best team in the league. I'm clearly the best team in the Atlantic Division. They ended up with 110 points. The second closest team was the Grand Rapids Griffins with 107 points. The Providence Bruins were the best team in the AHL, and not for half a second are the Springfield Thunderbirds intimidated by them in any way. And their play, their mannerisms on the ice, the game in context, all of that shows that the Springfield Thunderbirds are not at all intimidated by this very good Bruins team. So I look, my prediction, I'm going to say it. I think Springfield in 4. I think we steal game 1, and I think we come back in at home and we take care of business at home. So that's what I'm saying, Springfield in 4.
I will, man, I'm going to go Providence in 4. But I do think it'll go at least 4. My heart is telling me Springfield in 5 because of what I said earlier. All the pressure. If it goes to a game 5, put it this way: if it goes to a game 5, I like Springfield.
Sure.
If it ends before game 5, it's going to be Providence. And so that's why I think winning game 1 is so crucial and hanging in there, because if you get to game 5 in Providence, you got all the chips in your table, in your corner. Anything earlier than that, I think, is a Providence win. I know that's so sitting on the fence. No, it's a politician's answer because it's not an answer, but
it is. That makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. That's an answer. That's fair.
All right, cool. Matt says it's an answer, so it's an answer, and he's a real teacher, unlike me. I want to.
That's a real teacher.
Hey, you give out grades. So do I, but yeah. We do want to thank our friends at the TDS Center for Communication and Social Learning in Amherst at tdsspeech.com, 413-835-0735. By Mascon United Training Center in Agawam, mcutrainingcenter.com, 413-301-6040, right in Agawam, and Landscaping That Fits, landscapingthatfits.com, FITZ, for all of your landscaping needs. A big thank you to them for helping us out all season. I will say that I think no matter what happens, we will not be doing Matt and I haven't talked about this, but I assume we're not going to hop right into awards season, our SRG awards. If they lose on Tuesday, we're not doing the SRG awards Wednesday.
Yeah.
We're going to have a game to break down. We're going to do that whole thing. So I would expect a full show from us next week, regardless of what happens and where we're at. And quite honestly, if we're looking at a game 5, if we're previewing a game 5, you might even get an episode after that. And then if we win it, you'll get even more episodes. So we could be SRGing right into June if we're lucky.
There you go.
Things go right, dude. It's the sun was out when we started recording at 7:30 at night, And if you're going to the Thunderdome when it's 80 degrees and sunny at 5:30 at night, that means you're doing something right.
That's
where we're at. That's where we're at.
It's a good thing. Hey, big games in Providence. I'm expecting to hear y'all on the Ryan Smith broadcast there. I want to hear the cowbells. But yep. Listen, I will be there for Game 3 in the Thunderdome. I expect you to be there as well. Playoff hockey, round 2. Let's go, T-Birds.